Are you between the ages of 20 and 35? Do you feel like you were born in a different time period than everybody else our age? And do you feel rejected by people our age because you just don't follow the same cultural trends? Do you find yourself not being tech savvy? Do you find yourself longing or being nostalgic for a time in which you never lived? Do you speak differently than people our age? Is the terminology you use differently? Do people in your life often say you quote unquote have an old soul? Well, I can explain why in this video. See, our generation was the first generation to be born where technology began working against humanity as opposed to working for humanity. Technology is no longer a necessity, but we are having to survive against technology. And this is very unique because for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, human beings had to work against nature and depended on technology for survival. That's no longer the case now. So that factor in and of itself causes a dramatic shift in how humanity operates and survives and sustains itself in everyday life. It changes everything, no matter how big or how small. And during this current technological revolution, which has taken place and has been implemented slowly in the past 50 years, we were born in the midst of it. In fact, it's still going on now. And this is indirectly tied in with the whole technology thing. But the other factor is that our generation is the first generation, at least here in the United States. I don't know about other cultures around the world, but in the United States and in the Western world, our generation is the first generation to be born where at least 50% of our parents were either divorced or split up or were single parent. And these two factors create a world of dysfunctionality. And I don't think I have to elaborate or explain that because all of you know this much too well, just from your own personal experiences. But these two factors is what makes our generations unique. And as a chosen one who was born in these generations, chances are because you have such a high state of consciousness, because you are so aware of your surroundings, since you are so perceptive and sensitive to the nuances in your environment, you probably intuitively knew that there was something wrong from an early age. You probably picked up on the distress of your friends, your parents, your families, your teachers, your community. You probably picked up on the chaos around you when it seemed like everybody else around you was oblivious to it or didn't care. A lot of your friends, your superiors, people in your environment, parents, whatever, so on and so forth, probably said, "Oh, you're just imagining it. You're too sensitive, and your imagination is overactive, and da da da." Well, here's the thing, though. As a chosen one, you operate in not only the 3D realm, but the spirit realm, whether you realize it or not. Your heightened state of consciousness picks up on what other people don't pick up on. So, even back when you were younger, I'm 31 years old, so I was, a real young kid. I was a small child in the 90s. And even back then, I knew that there were storm clouds brewing. I knew that there was a dangerous fate waiting for America. And in other respects, the rest of the world. A lot of you as chosen ones experienced sensory overload growing up, and this is because as a chosen one, you realize that all this technology is causing people to lose their minds. It's causing a fracture in human interaction. It's causing a fracture in the traditional family. It is causing a fracture in the human element of society. And it's making the human connection no longer necessary. And this is detrimental to our survival as a human race. This is detrimental to our DNA because God made us to fellowship with one another. God designed us for love. God is love. And these machines, this technology, would be social media, AI, the internet, smartphones, everything that's automated, it's divorcing, no pun intended, it's divorcing people from the human element. One of the things that we need. I mean, it says in Genesis, it is not good for a man to be alone. Now, me having said all of this, I have to explain in the second part of this video why, as a chosen one, you're an old soul. And it has to do with the fact that you consciously picked up on all this chaos in the world, even at a young age. And this is what inherently, or one of the things that inherently made you different from other people in our generations. You were able to perceive, because see, other people in our generation have been numb. They've been desensitized because they had no way of escaping other than maybe gaming or the internet or TV or tech. Because tech and computers and the internet has been a substitute for the human element that we did not receive enough of growing up. So it's a cycle of a type of codependency. But as a chosen one, because we have a heightened state of sensitivity, we pick up on all this. And what happens when human civilization becomes apocalyptic, or there's nobody to rely upon? Well, with our intuition and our innate wisdom, we look to the ways of the ancients. We look back to the ways of our ancestors. To move forward, sometimes we have to go back. Not all progress is good progress. In this case, technological progress is no longer progress. It's turning in on itself. So the only way we can move forward is by going backwards. And as chosen ones, because of our innate intelligence and because of our gifted spiritual insights, we intuitively know we have to go back. We have to go back and acquire the wisdom of our ancestors. We have to acquire some of the traditional ways of the generations before us. And again, I'm not saying all traditions are good. I'm not putting the older generations on a pedestal, because I could make a video about why I can't stand boomers as a generality. But this is why you have an old soul as a chosen one. Because God knows that if we continue changing at the same pace with technology, we are going to self-destruct. We are going to destroy ourselves. So in order to keep us from destroying ourselves, we have to go back to the old ways. We have to go back to the ancient ways. We have to acquire the ancient wisdom in order to move forward.